Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to the Midlife Revolution. I'm your host, Megan Connor, and I've got Joe Schmo with me here today. Thanks for being with me, Joe.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We are covering the devastating flooding that is happening in the Texas Hill Country right now. It's very, very close to my heart because this is an area I've lived here for 30 years, and Kerrville actually is a place that is very close to where I live. And the Kerrville area is one of my favorite places. My parents lived in that area, actually near Center Point, for a long time, and I did some performing in Kerrville. I love that town, and the people and the camps around that area are things that are close to my heart. So this is a little bit emotional for me. We have all of the breaking news updates for you guys, as well as an explanation of how this happens. Flash flooding is not something that I was really very aware of when I moved down here to Texas. I did middle school and high school years in Connecticut. And when I moved down here, the first time I got a speeding ticket, which was, I want to say, less than a month after I moved here, I decided to do defensive driving. And that was the first time that I got introduced to flash flooding. There was a big section in there about how to avoid flash floods and what they are. And I had absolutely no idea how dangerous this was until I moved down here. The main thing that they told us is that if you come to a low water crossing, they'll put those little barriers up. And the slogan is "Turn around, don't drown," because, dozens and dozens of people have to be rescued every single year because of the flash flooding. And people with their big trucks think that they can go through that water. And the problem is that if there's even, I think it's 8 inches of water, your car can become buoyant in that 8 inches and easily get swept away. So it doesn't really matter how big your truck is. If the water is even a few inches deep, you can be in real serious trouble. This is definitely a 100-year flood, really more than that. The last time we had a big flood like this in San Antonio was around 1999 in October. And, October tends to be the rainy season down here. So for this to happen during the summer is also a little bit rare, as well as just the location and the sort of trifecta that had to happen for all of this to be going on. So Joe has some topographical maps that we can look at and some different things that'll help us understand the situation, as well as I have on the crawl down here a website that you can go to if you are wanting to help. Now, if you're local to Texas and you want to go to the area, this website that I've got on the crawl is where you would sign up as a volunteer. Now, we're also expecting more rain. And so things are not expected to improve. Things are expected to get worse. And so please, do take care if you're planning to come and help. That website is where you would go to sign up to be contacted, because you can actually end up doing more harm than good if you just drive into it and expect to be able to show up and help. In addition to the rainfall that we're expecting tonight. I actually have the weather report pulled up here for the Kerrville area. They, again, are still on a flash flood watch until 7 o'clock tonight. But the rain is supposed to, it's raining right now, actually, in Kerrville, and it's expected to continue at least for the next hour. And then there's going to be more rain on Monday as well. Now, the reason this turned into the situation it did is because the storms started north of Kerrville at the headwaters of the Guadalupe River. So there was some, understanding that this was a possibility, that this could happen. The National Weather Service did issue a flood watch for Central Texas on the 3rd of July. And then on the 4th of July, early in the morning, around 1 a.m., we got about 12 inches of rain. And that rain caused the catastrophic flash flooding along the Guadalupe, and it rose 26 feet in 45 minutes. So that is the reason why this turned into such a dangerous situation, is because with the water rising, I mean, if you can even imagine wherever you are right now, suddenly a wall of water 26 feet tall coming through your neighborhood. That's what this was like for these people. And some people have been, really critical of, people not informing in time and things like that. Well, what we're going to dig into here is the fact that, specifically at Camp Mystic, where most of the kids are missing from, there's no cell service down there. That is part of the reason why there are all these camps out there in the hill country, is because it's a great place to be, in a cooler area near the water with no cell service, so you can really unplug. And we're going to hear the heartbreaking story of the owner of Camp Mystic and one of the counselors that was able to escape with the 13-year-old girls that she was watching over. So, Joe, do you have anything that you want to just update us with real quick before we go to this first video?
I've been researching the stream gauges, and I want to show you this. This is at the stream gauge for the Guadalupe River, in between Kerrville and where the North Fork and the South Fork split. So it's after the two forks combined, and this is downstream from Camp Mystic, probably a couple of miles, I'm going to guess. I haven't done the measurements, but can everybody see that? So
if you can enlarge it just a little bit, that would be good. So we can see the numbers on the side there. That's great. Thank you.
So if you look at the top left here, this is at a little between 3 and 4 in the morning. This is the discharge in cubic feet per second, but you can think that almost directly relates to the depth of the water. So you talked about a wall of water. Usually it puts out about 8 cubic feet per second. A cubic foot of water weighs 60 pounds, and it goes up to, and it blows the top off of the gauge at 120,000 cubic feet per second. So it's probably higher than that. It probably peaked out at like 130,000 cubic feet per second. So that is 7 million pounds of water going through that channel per second.
Yeah.
At this juncture.
Yeah. And no more BS. Yes, they do have satellite, they do have talkies, but if you can imagine, they put out the warning at 1 o'clock in the morning, and at 3 o'clock in the morning is when they some people did start evacuating where they could, but this wall of water came through around 4:30, and there wasn't enough time for the people who were closest to the river to get the evacuation warning. Most of them didn't realize that the wall of water was coming, and it moved so fast that there wasn't enough time to get people out of the way. So yeah, again, we're not trying to get into a blame game here at all. What I want to do is just get the information out there and get the ideas out there of how everyone can help. Ada K, I will text you a link. Ada K, I did a show with her last week, and she actually lives in the Kerrville area, I believe, very close by. So I will send you, I'll email you a link here in just a second, Ada K. So Joe, do you think it would be helpful to first look at the map? Or that, I was going to play the interview, but
okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I just put it up there for your choice. We could look at the map next and see where everything's located, then pull up the flood map.
Yeah, okay.
We can either one.
I actually would like to look at the location of where Camp Mystic is located, if you have that map. Or if you...
I do.
Okay. I was going to say, if you have the flood map, I can probably point it out.
So there's Google Earth with pinpoints where the camps are. So here's Kerrville over here to the east, and here's the Guadalupe River coming west.
So Kerrville is this little blue dot right here, right?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes. I should make those bigger next time for presentation purposes so we can see them. So yes, Kerrville is over here where the blue thumb pin is, and then go west along the Guadalupe River. Here is where the North Fork and the South Fork converge, and there's another camp that was right here that was more in the fringe floodwaters, but there were a couple of boys that escaped there. They were brothers that talked about the rising floodwaters, but it wasn't like the wall of water. So if we come down here, down the South Fork of the Guadalupe River, down here in this area where another little creek comes in and combines right there, this is where, hold on, this is where Camp Mystic is. So looks like you've got like offices over here, and then you come over here to some basketball courts, and there may even be a cabin over there. And then it goes around the bottom of this hill, and here's where most of the campers' cabins are, is right along this creek. And it looks like they have a little dam right there at the end, part of the damming up part of the creek. So there's like a little recreational, a tiny lake right there. But if I do this little terrain thing right here, you can see where they're in a valley, and there's a hillside up here where they probably should have been at some point. And being down here in the low-lying lands, they were at a threat for a catastrophic event like this. And those are probably some of the cabins we saw washed away.
Right.
But you can see this hill country has a lot of hills and a lot of valleys and a lot of elevation change. So that water comes down from the hills moving pretty quickly when it's raining. And when you get a lot of rain, it collects really fast.
Yeah, and the other thing that's important to understand is that, you know, there's a lot of clay in the soil here, and it is not ideal for water absorption. It is the opposite. So that's part of the issue as well.
Yeah, especially if you have extended periods of drought, that is going to get packed down really hard. That's going to be like hard pan dirt.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues as well. When we go through a period of drought, like we have been for quite a while, and then we suddenly have, you know, all this rainfall, that clay in the soil just really doesn't help. So sorry, Ada K, I'm working on getting you a link here. It's just going to take me a minute because I wasn't prepared for that.
Sure. So do you want me to go ahead and pull up the flood map now that we've seen the geographic location?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
And Ada, if you'll give us just a minute, I'd like to take a look at the flood map, and then I want to play the interview with this camp counselor before we bring you up. But feel free to come and wait in the studio.
So this is FEMA's National Flood Hazard Layer Map. It's an interactive map. So let's zoom out. Zoom out just a little bit. When you zoom out, you can't see the floodplains, but there's Kerrville over here to the east. There's the Guadalupe River. Now you can see the flood zone. So that hatched area, the red hatched area, is called the floodway. And when it floods, that's where the vast majority of the floodwaters go. The lighter colored areas on the sides of that are the lighter blue is less of the floodway, and the orange is just fringe waters that back up over time, which is probably what happened to the other camp. Okay, let's go over here to the North Fork, South Fork convergence area right here. Those lines across the middle are the elevation of the base flood, which is the 100-year flood, what most people call the 100-year flood. Now, here we come down to Camp Mystic. So there's the lower Guadalupe, and they had to cross that. Oops, there we go. They have to cross that to get back to their camp. But here's the entrance to the camp right here. There's where I said there was the offices. There's the tennis courts. But the reason there's no red hatched area here defining the floodway is because they haven't done a detailed flood study on this creek. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't carry dangerous waters. Everything in that blue is subject to flooding in a 100-year flood. So you can see there's actually two creeks that converge here right at the entrance to the camp before that converges with the lower or with the south fork of the Guadalupe River. And let's look at where the cabins are located in this floodway, in this 100-year flood. So we can see there are 4 or 5 cabins, 6, 7 cabins right there. I'm not sure how many campers each cabin held. I would guess probably something like 16 to 20. So
they said that there were 700 campers at the camp at this time.
Right.
And so, each one of those cabins is very large.
Yeah, wow. There may be more. I may be underestimating how many campers were in though, but that's a bad thing because all of these right here were at risk and are probably where the majority of the missing and unrecovered girls were from. That's probably where they were staying in this 100-year flood right here.
Right.
They may have got some right here too. These are right on the edge of the creek. There are 3 more cabins right on the edge of the creek. But I heard someone say, and I didn't see the actual report myself, so it's not verified by me, but it makes sense that not all of the cabins were taken out. Like they got in there pretty quickly and were able to verify that actually some of these that are on higher ground were actually completely dry, as in didn't have any floodwaters. But these here are probably the source of where most of the girls
were. And when we're showing this 100-year floodplain, this means that when the river floods, this is where the water goes. This is not the same as a flash flood. Normally, when the river floods, there is plenty of time. It's a gradual process. It happens over the course of several hours, not over the course of 90 minutes, which is what was happening here. So that's just part of it. I want to go now to the video of a counselor from Camp Mystic who was able to escape with her campers. And she is going to share about the owner of Camp Mystic who unfortunately did die. And as we are preparing this, everybody, please take good care of yourself. There is only so much suffering that we can individually hold. This is something that I feel like I can do something about by reporting about it. I'm hoping that we will get some donations for those people who have lost homes and family members. So I get very quickly from the this is devastating to the I want to do something about this. But it is obviously distressing. So please take good care of yourself as you consume this coverage. Okay, just wanted to make sure you guys could see there. And this is from the local Fox affiliate. Appreciate being able to share their content. Oh, I apologize. I always have it on 2x when I'm reviewing stuff before sharing it.
Catherine is a Kerrville native who has spent many summers at Camp Mystic as both a camper and a counselor. Catherine, I am very sorry this is the reason we are meeting, but I appreciate you speaking with us today. Welcome to the show. What y'all needed to. Can you share with us when you and your campers were awakened by the storm and how things got worse from there?
So I work over at Camp Mystic Cypress Lake, which is the neighboring location to Camp Mystic Guadalupe River. My girls were awakened around I want to say 1 a.m, to our power flickering, lightning, thunder. It was terrifying. My girls were coming to our beds, asking if things were okay, after asking if they needed to close their windows. And then we urged them to just go back to sleep. We told them it was going to be okay. And then pretty much every hour we woke up to our power going out, coming back on, going back out. And finally, around 4 a.m, our power completely went off. We had no running water, no electricity, and our girls were really scared, but we just had to keep comforting them and telling them that it was going to come back soon.
Would you share with us what it was like when you guided the children out of the camp?
Yes. So the National Guard alerted the owners of the camp that we would have to evacuate around 6:30 p.m. Camp Mystic Guadalupe River had already evacuated due to their catastrophic flooding. So our girls from the dining hall, which is at the very top of a hill, many feet away from the Guadalupe River, which was risen 26 so many feet. So we guided our girls hand in hand to these military trucks, and we all had to get on those trucks, 30 of us at a time, hand in hand, as they guided us to safety.
Camp Mystic director Dick Eastland died while trying to rescue campers in this terrible disaster. Can you tell us about him?
Dick Eastland was one of the most selfless men in the whole world. He was an inspiration to so many. He was a father figure, a comforting force in the uncertainty of everything. He guided us in our faith and our activities. He always told us to make new friends and make sure and share our love to everyone. One of the most common quotes that he always said every single year, every single term: a bell is not a bell until you ring it. A song is not a song until you sing it. The love in your heart was not put there to stay. Love is not love until you give it away. And he would encourage us all to hug a camper next to us, say a kind word. And, that's just the kind of man he was. He was always offering his love, his sympathy, his comfort, his laughter, his joy. He was the most selfless man, I think, to ever live.
Very touching tribute. This is your hometown, Kerrville, Texas. Did you ever imagine this type of flooding hitting Kerrville and Camp Mystic specifically?
So many years ago, I know of many floods to have happened. My mom was a camper down at Camp Arrowhead, which is no longer a camp, has not been for a few years, but she would always tell us stories of picking up fish from a hill and having to throw them back in the water because of just how intense the flooding can be. But we had no idea that it would ever get this bad. Our cabins at the tippity top of hills were completely flooded with water. Y'all have seen the complete devastation. We never even imagined that this could happen.
I know the Texas Hill Country is a beautiful part of the world. The people there are quite resilient. Are you confident that they will rebuild and make Kerrville better than ever?
I am extremely confident. This is one of the most powerful communities that I've ever been a part of. We are small, but we are strong and mighty. And I know that already people are banding together, gathering supplies, donations, doing whatever they can to help people displaced, missing, anything, anyone affected. Everyone is doing their part right now.
Have you been in touch with some of your campers in the hours since, and how are they doing?
Yes, all of my campers are safe. They are hopefully all with their parents. The reunification down at Ingram Middle School was very efficient. All of my girls I know are safe, but all of their personal items pretty much are still stuck at camp as the search and rescue is still going on. But I know my girls are safe, and all the girls from Cypress Lake are safe.
Well, thank God for that. Catherine Somerville, grateful for your time today. I'm glad you're well. My best to you and your friends and your community.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Yeah, so a harrowing evening for anybody in charge of rescuing these campers. So just to give a little bit of a time frame, on the 4th of July, by evening on the 4th of July, 237 people had been rescued, 167 of those by helicopter. Also, the Kerrville water treatment plant failed, and so they're asking people to conserve water. July 5th, the death toll rose to 67, with 11 to 27 of the girls from Camp Mystic still missing. So far at this point, they've completed over 850 rescues in total, and the death toll is now at 69, as I understand it, with 11 girls and 1 counselor still missing. The president has signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, which means they will get some federal aid. But the flash flood warnings are going to continue. And I'm going to bring up now Ada Kay, who lives in Kerrville. Ada, thank you for joining us. And first of all, are all of your people safe?
We're safe. I have property damage. Give a little backstory. I had a friend in town on the evening of the 3rd at 6:30ish. We drove. I wish you could pull the map up again because I can give you an idea. We drove from Kerrville past Camp Mystic, and just this evening drive. It was beautiful. The cypress trees cover the highway. It curves around with the river. It's picturesque. So if you zoom in, that's hard for me to see. So this is Camp La Junta, which is where that little dot is. They're mispronouncing it. It's Camp La Junta. We drove past Camp Mystic, and we just were visiting and enjoying the beautiful, see how the road just kind of curves around with. We turned around about a mile past Camp Mystic and then came back through Camp Mystic right about here. This Camp Mystic here. So if you keep going, we turned around right about over here in the corner where you see that other structural property right here. That is where we turned around. It was not raining. It was beautiful. So if you can slowly wake your mate back to Kerrville, but I'll go back to Camp Mystic and I need to tell you some accurate information. But anyway, we stopped at the Hunt store, which is over 100 years old. It's destroyed. It's an icon and a very sweet memories. But I need to let y'all know, for those who don't know, I'm an emergency services volunteer chaplain. Last night and today, I was at the reunification with the families and at the funeral home where they were doing the identification of the bodies. So it's been a very hard day for me. Hard sure. 24 hours.
I'm sure.
If you zoom out to where you can see the cabins in the map. I want to show you where those cabins were and a little bit better. Okay. If you go to the bottom where the river and the dam is, and you can kind of see these cabins along the river to my right or right of the screen. If you scroll down that way a little bit, these cabins here are actually on the cliff and they have wooden supports. Half of the cabin is like on the cliff, half is not. All of these cabins were affected. The water came all the way up. Do you see that big building? The water up here to the left, the water was all the way up to where that road is at some point. Now, let me explain what happened here. Let me explain. We were getting warnings of 6 inches of rain. 6 inches of rain is going to flood, but it would not have affected Camp Mystic at all. At all, because they're pretty elevated. Unfortunately, it was 16 feet of water.
Yeah.
The storm acted like a land-created hurricane, meaning it was counterclockwise and it camped out. North of us, on the northern part of the Guadalupe River, they had 15 to 20 inches of rain, depending on where you were. So what happened is this was not just, most people realize, like you were describing, water creeps up and out. Those are the floods that we're used to. We can handle those. It may damage a few things, but it's not life-threatening most of the time. What happened was this was from what we were told, up to a 25-foot wall that came through. And it was running. I'm not good with numbers and science, but they said something like the average speed of the river was 5 cubic feet per mile per inch or something like that.
Yeah, we went
It
over
was
that before you came in.
120,000. You can't outrun it. Even if you have a warning, you're not going to outrun this.
Right.
So good news. I did not hear you say that. There were 2 girls, not a part of the camp, unfortunately, that were found over 30 miles downriver between Center Point. I don't know. Do you have a map that you can put up with just the towns? It's easier for me to hopscotch it and kind of tell you where the bodies and who's being found and kind of where we are. While you're doing that, the donations and volunteers. Let's say this. They are wanting volunteers, but they're really needing volunteers who can help with the search that are military, police, first responder background. Right now, there's a lot of people that have just flooded in on their own initiative. We don't have a lot of hotel rooms. We don't have places for people to stay. And it is very, very chaotic. This is still a very active, it's controlled chaos at this point. But volunteers are welcome. The best thing you can do is, I don't know who you're going through to give your donations, but off channel, I can give you ideas of where to send it, where 100% of the money will go to the victims' funds.
Yeah, so this is this website that I have on the crawl down here. I spoke with the Kerr County Sheriff's
that's a good one.
earlier today, and
Yeah.
that tcr.communityos.org. You can either sign up to volunteer there, or you can send donations. They also have lists of multiple organizations you can send donations to. When I spoke to the sheriff's office earlier today, that's what they recommended as the number one go-to.
Yeah.
If you just want a no-brainer way to donate, any super chats, super stickers that come in on this today, I will donate those directly to this communityos.org. I have signed up as a volunteer. I'm waiting to hear if they need anything that I can offer. I'm in a position where I can easily drive there and come home to stay. So
That's right. You're close.
I wouldn't be plugging up the area.
Volunteering, going through this avenue is fine to volunteer. I'm just don't want people to just come in on their own initiative and show up and say, I'm here. We are over and inundated with that. So if you want to volunteer, definitely go to that link and go there to donate as well.
Yeah.
The thing is that, do you have the map?
Yeah, he's
working
at it.
I haven't met you, Joe. Hi.
Hi. I would say, how are you? But that's probably a really dumb question.
I came home today and I've got a good support system. Okay. So we have we're going to go, La Junta is River End Resort and Conference Center. Is that next? La Junta is
right here.
Right.
Or the
Okay,
Camp La Junta
well-
or the resort.
Okay, we've already seen where Mystic is. I keep wanting to call it Majestic. Camp La Junta did have some children that did jump in the river. Someone mentioned about the 2 boys. Unfortunately, what's happened is they hopped off the helicopter and the news grabbed them before the parents did. So we're having a lot of that going on. So this camp was affected as well. Hunt is just north of it. They are the most impacted as far as all they had was a little grocery store gas station that was over 110 years old. They also had a post office that literally is gone. The whole community pretty much down on that main road is gone. So if you see where it says the Guadalupe River, you see how it's really thin and then it gets thick and then it gets thin and then it gets thick. So we have a lot of campers now. Wherever you see the river crossing 37, I mean, I can't see 27, 29, 39. I'm bad. I know it by a different name. Every place that you see the river crossing the highway is where a lot of campers were. And those points there. And then if you go over here where it says, I can't read it. It's very blurry. Under the Buckwild Animal Rescue, you got the something on the river. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you. This stretch here has a bunch of what they call summer homes, cabin rentals, Airbnbs, camper sites. That was highly affected. If you keep going, go ahead and go all the way to the Kerrville right there. You see where that harsh line is, where it says the Lake New Ingram? That is Ingram Lake. That was totally underwater. All that area in the pink below it was flooded. And if you go where it says the Hill Country Arts Foundation, there's a theater on the river. Big, huge structure washed away, totally gone. So everything from what you see off screen on the left to Indian Creek Road is pretty much gone. We also had some mobile homes, and a lot of those are destroyed. If you keep going to the right and go straight follow the river down into Kerrville, and what you were talking about, we have two forks, and someone was saying, well, why don't they have sirens? They have them on those forks. But unfortunately, sirens would not have saved anybody at this point. It was moving so fast you couldn't get out of there. So can you scroll down a little bit? It says Nimitz Lake. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. Louise Hayes Park. I'm sorry. Go back up. This is where it's green right there. Can you zoom in on that? Keep zooming. Keep zooming. Okay. Go ahead. And if you can scroll just so there we go. This is the main bridge that runs through town. I travel this bridge every day. I am literally a half a mile to the south of this bridge, which is where I'm sitting now. And my home is a half a mile north of this bridge. This bridge is 40-ish feet from what the stats say, 40 feet from the normal water level to the bottom of that bridge. 40 feet. And it was raging and kissing the bottom of the bridge. We've never had it that high. Yeah. There's a little dam. If you scroll upwards a little bit, there we go. There's a little dam here, and right there, just to the south of that bridge, there's a dam where it says the Memorial Pavilion, and it was flooding over as if there was no dam. The problem is all this down south that you're looking at is a lot of it is just like riverbed and a little stream. Okay, anything south of that bridge is really more like a stream, but a wide, dry river bed. And like you said, it's very drought. The clay land, it doesn't absorb. So actually, if you can, let me see if you can go up. You see Classic Hamburgers and More in the orange underneath the Google Map search?
Yes.
That is where my business is in that same building with them. The water to my left, you see G Street, and it goes yellow to white. Everything in that yellow was underwater. The river went, pretty much everything you see in that cream color was underwater.
Just going to turn this on for a second.
Okay, thank you. That's easier there. There are nursing homes, and to the south, we have assisted living homes, and the water came all the way up to this G Street bridge. There's a movie theater and everything, but all of this, all of this green area where the trees are, my mouse you can't see my mouse. You see the storage, self-storage, all of that was over. All of that had water. That's how big it overflowed. And then to the right side, it's a higher elevation, and it flowed to the back of the buildings off of Water Street. If you can see, the riverbed gets a little drier. The problem is this river goes wide, narrow, and it just destroyed everything. The trees are laying like this that are normally just on land, are laying like this or gone. We have
those look like
something
assisted living. Are these the assisted living centers you were talking about?
Yes. I don't know the full damage, but I do know the water, if it didn't go in, it was right on their backside.
So for those of you,
see, we are a retirement community. 65% of our community is over the age of 65.
Yeah. So Ada K, will you tell people your channel, please? Ada K and I we recently became friends and did an episode together. And Ada K lives in the Kerrville area, very close to where all of this flooding was happening. Ada K, just tell us about your channel real quick, if you don't mind.
I'm Ada K or Ada K Media. I am deaf without my hearing aids. I provide interpreting when a deaf person is watching for court proceeding. I do a lot of court commentating. So that's what we do. I see June. I have some of my peeps on here. Hi, Miss Ronnie. And of course, on Friday, on that night, Friday night up until almost 2 a.m. Saturday morning, I did a live, and then I did one, of course, on the 4th of July, talking about this. Now I want to talk, real quick, talk about the families and what's happening.
1 second.
They are having
Ada K. Is your channel at Ada K Media? I just want to make sure I put the link.
I think
in
so.
there.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. I'm
I just
sorry.
wanted people to know who you are. Sorry. Please
It's
go
okay.
ahead.
I'm not thinking about that now. I'm just trying to get information out there. What's happening is that the reunification area was in Ingram, Texas, and at the school. And unfortunately, they were having all the families were sitting out just watching the helicopters come in and go and searching, and it wasn't good for them. So what they did was they moved it into town at a church just down the road from my house. And all the people that have missing people are there. And it's a lot of problems. We have a lot of people who are, why can't we put divers in the water, for example? Families and people in the community are asking, and here's why. I'm a volunteer firefighter, so I have a little bit of knowledge in this. What happens is there's so much debris. We have RVs, we have community, we have trucks, we have work trucks, we have cars. And the other thing is that whole park was set up for the 4th of July. We had about 20,000 people come in for the weekend. They had a big, huge stage. They had all of their venues and everything set up for the next day. All of that is underwater and downstream, and there's so much debris. And some of the areas where the water is receding, you have up to 10 to 12 feet of just solid, mangled debris, limbs, trees. It looks like the biggest woodchuck that could have chucked wood had created a dam 10 miles long and 4 miles wide. It's just extensive. And they were very much, so we can't put people in the water. It's not nice. Centerpoint, my first responders were completely destroyed. Yes, it was. They have one volunteer department and was caught in the water and have lost emergency vehicles. Yes. And that is, as a volunteer firefighter from Fort McGavitt, we are aware of that. I've been praying for you guys. Thank you, Beverly. They are accepting donations. Let me explain. Kerrville City has a fire department. I think we have 4 substations. But we are a huge community that has a lot of cedar, a lot of ranches, and so we have a lot of volunteer departments. I'd say within about a 30-mile radius, we have 7 volunteer fire departments that are all donations, and all of them are out along with everybody right now. Even though Centerpoint lost everything, they are out and fighting. And I love you guys. I have some friends there. One of the biggest problems is that, like I said, going back to the divers, is that people are wanting people to get in and dive. And basically, I got to be honest, the truth is this. If they're deceased, there's nothing we can do. And people are said, why are we not going into a recovery? Because number one, it's still a rescue until we know that there's no more survivors. Number two, it's still a rescue even if they're deceased. Once we find them, it's a recovery. It also affects the morale of the volunteers and the paid staff and everybody who's doing the searching. Because once you tell them it's a recovery only, it just becomes so much harder and heavier.
Right.
The families went today, and they had to go, and the ones that had a deceased go and identify them. Some of them are not matched or identifiable, so they had to do DNA.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. We had 60 souls at the funeral home. So today, that's been a very heavy day.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this community, it hit us in a way that we've never been hit. I think this is worse than the 1987 flood. This community, on the other hand, is very resilient and pulls together well.
Yeah.
But the scary thing is that this can happen to anybody. But when you live near a river, this is Mother Nature is not a respective of person. It doesn't care. It's going to do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, though, is the girls, well, all victims, but
Yeah.
these little girls. And we still have family that are waiting for I heard you read the numbers.
Yeah.
You talked about the water plant. The water plant did not fail. They turned it off so it wouldn't fail, and it wouldn't get to the point that they couldn't fix it, restart it, whatever. They shut it off because once the water got above and got to a certain point to salvage it, they turned it off. We will be on well water for, they said, at least 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the 2 girls that they found today in a tree, they did find, I mentioned that, they were back with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of heroes. There's a guy that was in a trailer, RV, and right on the river, and he broke windows to get his mother, his fiance, and daughter out, but he had gashed his arm, hit an artery, and he died.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of that going on.
Yeah. So
I'll take questions.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of info.
Thank
I just
you,
don't know what
ADK.
all you need.
I also wanted to let people know, for those of you who don't know Joe Schmo, we met over the Lori Vallow trial. He is an investigator. He's got his own channel, Joe Schmo 88. He helps me out with my court briefs and all kinds of other stuff. And he did this show yesterday. Basically, I knew that he already had these maps pulled up and ready to go. And, this has been on my heart. I've just been waiting for a clear hour, and I literally had 1 hour. So I'm just really grateful to you, Joe, also for coming in and helping out.
We just got another weather warning. I'm sorry, Joe, don't want to interrupt you. We have another major alert. They are pulling an evacuation of the North Fork. Right now, we've got another, we have had some rain. I wish I could pull up radar and show you coming. I have all that on my end, but we do have radar. We do have rain coming in.
That up.
They are also expecting another wave. In fact, so much so that the news media and people are lining the bridge, the main bridge, to get pictures of the water coming in again, which I think is crazy. I mean, guys, I'm going to ask, there are people coming in from all over. Do not come and be a looky-loo, because right now we need all the roads clear as much as possible for emergency vehicles. We got National Guard, we got Texas Forestry Service, we got the, oh my gosh, the game wardens, we have all the standard police and all that. We've also have military. I mean, anybody and everybody that can be here, that should be here, is here. And that's a lot of vehicles and a lot of people that they need to allocate and move quickly. And so, but it took me 20 minutes almost to get across town because everybody is slowed down on the bridge taking pictures. It's just horrendous. Joe, nice to meet you. I would love to chat with you off screen. You're a private investigator?
No, I'm an investigative reporter.
And reporter. Okay, still want to talk to you.
And I want to talk to you too, because I'm associated with another volunteer organization that has helped in disasters. And we may have some resources that we can send you, but we need to send you the appropriate resources.
Well, that'll be great. I have my own ministry. I'm an emergency services volunteers of chaplain of Texas. So I do have a lot of little connections here. But let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. See the red coming in? I keep going. Okay, there's Kerrville. You see the red to the left of Kerrville? Is going right over Camp Mystic and everything again. Yeah. All of this rain is going to come down. Here. And that's another misconception. This is going to keep coming tonight. People don't realize that. Why Kerrville? Let me explain why. All the area north of us is elevated higher than us, and Kerrville is almost in a bowl. Mm-hmm. All of the river flows from the Guadalupe, starts pretty much over there and floods down into Kerrville. And then it goes from Kerrville through Comfort into the Canyon Lake. And unfortunately, the worst the flooding most of the time is going to be in Kerrville because of the way the forks of the river come together, and then everything goes from there into Kerrville and it hits that main dam, and then we're flooding. Just so you know, and somebody asked me this question, they just texted me. They wanted to know why the bodies are being found so far away. Understand that these bodies are going to some of these bodies will go all the way, if that haven't already, into Canyon Lake. And somebody asked, what's the chances of them us finding every single body is going to be almost impossible, unfortunately. And it is a horrible situation for these families. The families, I will tell you, they pretty much in their gut already know that their loved one is gone. And they're just waiting to identify them and claim at this point. So I'm going to ask, if you are a praying person, some of us are, we all do our own thing, but really in the next 24, 48 hours, as the death total rises and the people, the bodies start arriving in Kerrville for now, arriving in Kerrville until we can no longer take care of them. I think they may be getting more portable morgues. Please be with our funeral services and those who are doing all the care of the remains. This is a very grueling, very exhausting experience. And it's just they're my heroes. Because I tell you, it's one thing to there's a lot of things you can do to volunteer, but to deal with the remains and handle the family, that's a special person.
Yeah. And it's a lot of emotionally draining work, and the people who are there in it and having to deal with their own losses as well. It's going to be an exhausting, couple of months really coming up, getting things cleaned up and helping people put things back together.
I've heard it's going to take it could take up to a year for us to get the cleanup done, up to a year.
Yeah.
That's not
the rebuilding.
Right.
That's not, I mean, and part of the problem is they have drained part of the Guadalupe before, and they have cleaned out all, because we have believe it or not, we get cypress trees that grow in the middle of this, and all of a sudden you got a tree in the middle of the river. So they're going to have to go through and clean that, probably about 40 miles of that river.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's the kind of situation where, the first responders are, and as we mentioned, some of the first responders were lost in the weather, and they also lost equipment. And so they are understaffed, and they are also, when you have an equipment loss, it's kind of hard to do your job. I understand the Coast Guard has come in to help with some of these rescues as well. So the first responders, they're going to get worn out really quickly, and they're already working as much as they can around the clock. There are still people being found alive at this time, and so they, as Ada K was mentioning, it's still search and recovery. It's not moved to just a recovery effort at this point. And then once the waters recede, there's cleanup that has to happen before anything can even be rebuilt. And so, as you're saying, this is a months-long process.
The thing is the water is so contaminated because there's so many vehicles that are in the water, along with a lot of other stuff. By the way, someone mentioned about funeral funds as well, or helping with funerals. Just to let you know that the girls were from Houston, Dallas, Austin, and only one was local that are missing. Most of them are from out of town. And we had people as late as yesterday evening coming in for the first time. They live pretty far. Some of them live far away. This camp, we've had presidents' children's at this camp. This camp is a very prestigious, very well-known. They celebrated, I think, their 100th year or something, 125th year, something like that. 100th year next year. It's 99 years this year. And so it's just a sad situation. And I want to say thank all of you in chat for keeping this nice and kind. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to say, why not this? Why not that? But in reality, You could have had all the warning systems in the world, but there was going to be no way when you have walls. I've got to get these off. They drive me crazy, the glare. You got walls of water, and I look horrible because I've been gone since yesterday. I literally just got back and from being with the families, but there's a wall of water coming to the point that they have some videos. Have you seen the videos of some of the water coming in
Yeah,
on the dam?
I was going to show. I have a video from somebody from the Geological survey explaining how this happens. So I think I'd like to go ahead and play.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. And thanks for letting me come on.
Of
I
course,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
I'm grateful that you popped in because it's so important to have people who are actually there. Because we can talk about it, we can talk about the reports, from here, but to have you, actually there where it's happening, and see the situation.
I did drive back out to Camp Majestic yesterday. So
Camp
I was
Mystic.
able to Mystic. We have a Majestic about another 40 miles down the road.
Yeah.
And I'm very tired. I've only had like 3 hours sleep, but Majestic, thank you.
Yeah. So
Mystic.
So yes, this is true. The National Weather Service did report that there was going to be severe flooding, but severe flooding is very different than flash flooding. And
Yes.
severe flooding, comes in a lot more gradual. For those of you who are just joining us, we're talking about a 25-foot of wall of water that came down, and there was not enough time from when that started to get the word down the river fast enough for anybody to be able to evacuate soon enough. The people who were in situations that were close enough to the river that they knew about the flooding the night before, a lot of them were able to evacuate. But once the flash flooding started, there was not enough time to get the word out and for people to leave.
Now, there were people that have gone on the news and said, we heard the warnings. Now, understand, we get warnings a lot. We get flooding a lot here, but it's like 6 inches. And like you said, it comes up and it kind of raises and comes out at a slow over hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5. This was literally with less than an hour, it hit, and then it continued over a 3-hour period. People did get the warning. And they're confessing, we didn't think anything of it. We y'all get floods all the time, and we chose to stay. And a lot of them said we turned off the warnings because it was bothering us. It kept coming across, and it, I was up at 4:30 in the morning. I went home at 4:30 that morning, and it was just drizzling here. It had just started getting a heavier rain, and then I woke up to my daughter calling, mom. And I said, what? And she goes, are you safe? And I went, what do you mean? And then I was live. I was live when I found out what had happened in Bolted to try to get home to see how my home was, because it can flood. But the problem is that there are a lot of people who are confessing that they ignored the telephone. And we have not only the National Weather Service, we have something called red flag warning or something like that comes across our phones for just our county. So a lot of people on the river who were camping thought it would not get that bad and chose to stay. So I'm just giving the fair and equal balance here. Sorry.
Yeah, I live in Indiana, and we have the tornado sirens. They get tested once a month, and I will confess that when the tornado warning goes off, I stand at my back door and watch for it. I've never seen a tornado. I've had one pass over the house and take out a tree, but I was in the bathtub covered up at that point. So, but yeah, I mean,
We get desensitized.
Yeah, exactly.
It was 4:30 in the morning where they were hit. Now, Camp Mystic is a 30-minute drive from my house. So it was hitting there when I drove home, and my home is an 8-minute drive from where I am here, across the main bridge in Kerrville. So I got in bed about the time the water started arriving in Kerrville. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is it's a long explanation, but I'm only going to play the first little bit of it here as he starts to explain. And then Joe, if you've got some of the videos of the rushing water so that people can see, if you can pull something like that up, I would appreciate it.
Also, we have an Eastern Kentucky back in 2022, because all of these landscapes, like the one you see here, have sort of a common characteristic. And in particular, I think I'm drawing here the South Fork of the Guadalupe. So the river there is moving into a wider valley once you get down towards Comfort and places like that. But the areas of the landscape that are feeding that river water, so all of these little feeder streams, tributaries coming in, if you really look close, they branch and then they go up here and branch again and again and again. So it becomes a really sort of intensely carved up landscape. And the term for that geologically is high drainage density. And high drainage density landscapes like this one are notoriously prone to really, really fast flood responses. So they're prone to producing what we would call flash type flooding. If you put the amount of rain that this landscape received on any landscape, you're talking 12 inches, 15 inches, something like that, in just a few hours overnight, you're going to have a flood problem. But it's the rate of that flooding. How fast does it happen? Where are you? Can you recognize that it's happening? And can you have a safe escape route? Speed is really the question. And as we zoom in closer here, as you're seeing, a landscape like this, it's actually really sort of almost kind of wrinkled and complex looking when you get close to it. A landscape like this takes precipitation and puts it in channels and runs it into bigger channels very, very quickly. Now, in the particular case of this part of Texas, they're in a drought here, I believe, prior to the event, and the ground surface was sort of hard and baked. So the rainfall that went onto it ran off even faster. And again, as a geologist, if you see a place like this, what's on your mind is actually a number of things we'll take a look at here. But one is the very rapid response of it to rainfall. Now, what produces a landscape like this? It tends to be like flat-lying layers of rock. And we got this pulled up here on the national map. We're looking here at LiDAR imagery just south of Hunt, Texas. And if we zoom in here, you can actually see these rock layers poking out here on the hillsides and very, very closely spaced. And if you can imagine, if a raindrop falls in the area that I'm drawing right now, really regardless of where it falls, it's going to fall on a steeply sloping part of the landscape, and it's immediately going to be in a channel making its way downhill towards another stream channel, which is going to be met by even more runoff, and you can kind of take it from there. So a landscape like the one we just filled in there, that's going to flood hard and fast regardless. You could, in fact, take the same storm and sit it over top of everything I just drew right there, and the flood that you're going to get on the right side of the screen there is going to still move a huge amount of runoff, but it's not going to do it as quickly and as violently as the one on the left there. And to take this a step further, frequently in these high drainage density landscapes, the channels are really cut down into the land like you see here, and that leaves people sort of living along the rivers. They tend to be really cool, pretty rivers. A lot of times they're rocky, they have kind of bluffs or cliffs along the side of them. So they're appealing places to be. The problem with that is that you're of course in harm's way very much if there is a big flood event. Your choices for living in a landscape like this are either kind of up here along the hilltops, which is something that you see around Wheeling in particular, or or down here in the valleys where the flood risk is quite extreme. Most of the kind of the sloped areas like this are just, they're too steep to really use for anything in terms of building or something like that. So yes, geology and
Okay, so I hope that gives a little bit of a better description.
That's perfect. Because what you're going to see that video I sent you that's down here ready to be shared. I've already got it in window. That is exactly what this riverbed is made like, what he just described.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to share this one.
Now, this is live time, and watch the minutes. It is 2 minutes and 24 seconds. And if you don't know it's coming and you got to get your RV and everything out of the way, it ain't going to happen. Hold on, I'm getting it. There we go. This is not the original 20-foot wall that came through, but this is an example of what came through and as quickly as it did come through. This here was definitely, it's light out. It's not dark. So this was probably about 7, 8 in the morning. This is downriver from where I am. But one thing is also is that people forget a lot of people were sleeping and don't hear these alarms go off. A lot of times they silence their phones when they go to sleep. So unfortunately, a lot of people were caught off guard because they were sleeping in tents and in trailers right up on the riverbanks. This is actually a very dangerous situation. Look at all the people. They're very close. I'm glad the state troopers are there, but I'm not happy that they're that close. But you'll see how quickly it comes up onto the bridge. It's already on the bridge. But in less than 2.5 minutes, it's going to rise. That's probably about, 4 or 5 feet easily. I don't think there's sound on this. So, and it would be really loud anyway, because it's loud being by the river right now. It's almost deafening. The other thing is that the currents are running so fast that the people that were in the currents were not able to grab onto much of anything. There was a lady that was rescued that was able to grab a hold of a huge cypress tree. She got found. Smaller bridges that are down. We're going to have to do a bunch of infrastructure at this point. I'm going to stop sharing. Uh-oh. Where did everybody go?
We disappeared. We got sucked into the portal.
Yeah, we got sucked into the portal. So that's just, I think that was a really good video and a discrete, so people could see how quick 2.5 minutes to go from nothing.
And how careless people are.
Yeah, exactly.
We had one lady. Sorry, we had a lady with 2 children standing on the muddy part of the river, right at river's edge, and it broke, and she and the kids fell in. Luckily, people grabbed them, but people are, I'm not trying to be mean, but this right here is actually, to me, stupid. As a firefighter, first responder, I would be hauling everybody back, because you don't know, once that water starts going, if you see where they're standing, ends up underwater. And they're just casually walking back. You can slip and fall. It's wet. I mean, it's just not safe.
None of those people should, even the Texas state troopers shouldn't have been that close.
No, shouldn't have done that close.
what we saw there was the water was already flowing over the road, and we watched that surge come in, and that was about a 6-foot surge. So if you can imagine one 3 times that big coming
Yep.
through, and it took less than 2 minutes for that to go from being around 15 feet wide to being 50 feet wide.
And
so
it wasn't flowing as fast as it was
Right.
this morning, because this is further downstream. It doesn't flow. I mean, it kind of loses momentum once it got past the downtown Kerrville area to a point. It was still fast. It's hard to survive that swimming it. I would believe. I couldn't
Right.
imagine being in that and swimming and trying to live.
Well,
that's
Something-
not
that's
only
why
that,
even
but
that
I mean,
I was going to say
No,
even the
they shouldn't have been.
professionals won't go in there.
exactly.
The
There's
task
no
forces.
such thing as navigating that. There's no such thing as swimming in that. If you happen to be floating in it, you're going so fast that you could hit any debris, and that could take you out. So even people who were, buoyant still would be in extreme danger. And so the people that they rescued out of trees were lucky that, they didn't injure themselves or die in the attempt of trying to get into the tree. So this is a very serious situation. I wanted to come on here and make sure that people are aware of how this happened and what's happening there now. Again, there is still a flash flood warning in effect until 7 o'clock tonight because the rain is still coming down. We have at least another hour of rain tonight, as well as more rain coming in tomorrow. So Kerrville, Center Point, all of the towns, basically between here, between San Antonio and north of here, Kerrville is about an hour and a half north of me. All of
It's
those
45
towns,
minutes from San Antonio.
yeah,
1604.
yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, I was thinking of Fredericksburg.
Bernie
being
got
very
lucky.
far away.
Bernie's not affected like any of the others are because everything went past them on the river. By the way, just news that just broke. They have finally the engineering Nolan Key Bridge. Remember we were talking about the people that were stuck on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah,
They have been. They are bringing in temporary. The bridges the military use in wartime to put over rivers. They're bringing those in. Thank you so much to all of our military. I have to say thank you to our military. And
Yeah.
all of our first responders. With this, the equipment is coming in. They are asking, and I don't know if you've heard this, for people not to travel from San Antonio and up to Kerrville.
Right.
I-10 is the main corridor, and they're really needing people to keep that as open as possible.
Yeah, to keep it open for responders. Now, if you're just joining us, I've got on the crawl down at the bottom of the screen. This is the resource that the Kerr County office pointed me to when I asked what we could do. It's tcr.communityos.org, and register there as a volunteer if you are a first responder or if you do have crisis management experience. They will contact you via email to let you know what you can do to help. Do not just go to Kerrville. And then there's a phone number there as well if you want to give donations, but you can also donate at that website as well. They have in-kind donations of materials, and also places where you can donate money that 100% of that money goes directly to the flood victims and the recovery efforts. People are asking if San Antonio is affected. There definitely are parts of San Antonio that have been affected by the rain, but we don't have the flash flooding this time like they did in Kerrville. Now, when I was in Phoenix for the trial, for Brandon's trial, right before I went back to San Antonio, there were 6 people killed here in San Antonio in flash flooding when around 5 o'clock in the morning, people were traveling down the freeway and there was a flood surge that came over the freeway and they had absolutely no warning. It was just raining and then all of a sudden cars got swept away. So it is a situation that happens frequently in this area. Almost every year there's flash flooding. And so I I just want to get the word out and help people understand the situation, as well as giving people a place to donate and things that you can do for people in the area. Now, here's my other plea. We talked about this a little bit earlier, is that, while all of this is happening, public awareness will be high and people will be interested in helping. After the floodwaters go down, that's when the real work starts. And that is when they're going to need fresh people, new donations, new, people coming in, bringing what is needed. And so please don't give up on this after this weekend is over and the rain stops. I'm going to be probably spending a lot of time going back and forth once they're allowing people in to help, because it's going to be months and months, this cleanup effort.
Yeah, and the media is there for the exciting, interesting stuff and the flash flooding footage and the reunited families and all of that. But once the media leaves, then the public awareness goes way down.
Right.
Yeah.
I put this down there for you, Megan. The Texas flooding update: 68 confirmed death, 28 of those fatality are children, 10 campers. So they have located one additional camper who is deceased. One counselor is unaccounted for. So it is. And the problem also is that the numbers are going to probably get in the over 100, because we don't know how many people were lost on the rivers. That one lady said, I knew my mom was going to Kerrville and I knew that she was going to go camping and then go up to Johnson City and but we can't find her. We can't locate her. So
And additionally,
the numbers are expected to be about 150 or more.
Right. And additionally, there are whole families missing.
Yes.
And so normally in a situation like this, where what you were just saying, my loved one was going into the area and now they're missing. Well, when the whole family's gone, there's nobody to report anybody missing. And so what we're finding is that probably the toll is going to be very high. And just there are people missing we don't even know are missing yet.
Right. Debbie is right. We've already confirmed those two sources. FYI, Megan, I can send you information because I'm still attached into the incident command, and I get those usually 30 minutes to 2 hours before everybody else. But with them, the two girls were found a couple hours ago. They are not releasing information. They may have already been matched with parents, but the media may not know that. But the thing also is the parents do have a right to say, I don't want this information out there. That has been something that's been a problem, is the faces. They had a picture of the kids riding in a helicopter with their hands over their ears. There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm going to ask a favor. Please do not repost, blog these photos of these kids, because most of these photos of the kids were taken by people in the helicopter and sending it out without the consent of the families. Also, the families are sitting in a reunification center, and one of them thought it could have been their kid, and they got excited and then found out that wasn't their child, and in fact their child has died. Social media in one way is fabulous. We're part of that. Please be respectful. They're minors. If people are putting it on your stuff, don't repost it, please. And you can, if you don't like me saying this, let me know, Megan. But these kids' faces, they should be protected. They shouldn't be used for propaganda or media or clickbait.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Anytime any of this involves children, they absolutely need to be protected 100%. Children cannot consent to this, to their faces being shared, and their families should not, in my opinion, even be asked. Let's cover the weather. Let's cover how people can help. Let's not put the faces of victims out there. The other point that I want to make is please, please be very careful about not sharing misinformation. I really appreciate the person who commented that they checked with two sources. The situations like this get sensationalized so much, and I've already heard several false reports of things that actually didn't happen or that were associated with other flooding situations or other scenarios. And about what you consume, consider the source. Please try to verify before you go reposting things. And finally, if you're going to make a post, about this flooding situation, please consider adding this website to your post, because yes, we all are heartbroken. We all have, our hearts are with the families, but please let's do something about it. Please share tcr.communityos.org. That is the source that the Kerr County Sheriff's Department shared with me as the best place for people to go for donations and volunteers.
Please keep in touch with me, because if you come up here, I'll gladly meet up with you. And if you need anything while you're here, unfortunately, I don't have a guest bedroom, but we do have a bed at the shop and a good bathroom. So we can put you up here if you want to spend the night.
Well, I don't want to take up resources by staying there when
you're not taking up not in my shop. You're not taking up resources in my shop. But also, please, if you know of a Centerpoint Volunteer Department is one of the ones that lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands in equipment and trucks. They were flooded out. Pretty much everything's destroyed. If you want to donate down here, that's good too, please. But you can also donate. Just Google Centerpoint Fire Department on their website. They should have a place to donate. I hope you're okay with me with saying with that.
Absolutely.
Centerpoint is one of our more active volunteer fire departments, because they go between San Antonio and Kerrville and Comfort, and that's a lot of terrain to cover.
Yeah, my parents lived in Centerpoint for nearly 10 years. And so, they greatly benefited from the volunteer fire department in that area. My mom actually used to work in the quilt shop in Kerrville as well. She has
they closed that down. I may have met your mama then.
Oh, I bet you did. We'll have to talk about that. Yeah. So I am going to keep everyone posted on this. I will do another live first thing tomorrow as we have a little more information, especially after the weather tonight. There's going to be more rain. So I am going to do an updates, and also after when it is safe for me to go, I'm going to be loading up my car and heading up there with a car full of supplies. Anybody who wants to donate to that effort, you can use my Venmo. It's at @3rd_verse. And please just comment flood supplies. And I will take screenshots of that and promise that all of that will go 100% to taking supplies into the Kerrville area as soon as it's safe to do so.
Jan Campbell, what is this? California, anyone, Father Clay Hunt is okay. What is that?
Father Clay Hunt, is he okay and safe? I don't know who that is. Do you know that person, Ada K?
Do me what? Can you do me a favor? Can you put my email up? And if people have people in this area, I can help research for people. I can be a point of contact. If you have somebody you think is in this area and that you need me to check on, go ahead and pop up my email and I'll be happy to do that. I will be, I want to thank everybody for your super chats. I don't know if you've done it. You said everything will go to this number down below. Thank everybody for doing that. I did it on my channel as well, but I really appreciate you, Megan, and your efforts. And you,
Joe Schmo. Joe
Schmo. I don't know why I wanted to call you Joel. Forgive me, Joe Schmo. On my hearing aids, sometimes it sounded like Joel the first time I heard it, so forgive me.
Okay.
But thank you so much. I'd love to get in contact with you. Everybody, Absolutely. Please keep us in your prayers. I will be going out, not as I did today, but tomorrow I will be, it's a mandatory rest day for me because I've been going since this happened. So I'll be live, but tomorrow night I will be working it again. So keep us in your prayers. And also do me a favor, keep all of your pastors, all the pastors and the churches in prayer, because they're working day and night with feeding people. The restaurants have just emptied their kitchens. There's not a shortage of food. We don't need food. There's not a shortage of clothes. We got clothes. But gift cards are always good if you want to send and do things like that. But keep the churches in your prayer because those pastors are working feverishly too.
Yes, thank you for that. And for those of you who were asking about the missing children, Alan and Rochelle Fisher, who are affiliated with the FLDS Church, I don't unfortunately have any update on you on that for you. The Amber Alert is still active. That's the latest thing that I have, is that the alert is still active. There is a biker group that helps with finding those children. And they are involved now, and so people, they're called the Road Warriors, and so they are looking for a total of 8 missing children. The other children I did not cover. It happened longer ago, but there are groups of FELDS kids who are missing, and so I'm going to do a more expanded episode on that when we have a better update for it. So thank you to those who are asking. Again, this link down here at the bottom, it's also pinned in the first comment, tcr.communityos.org. That is the Kerr County Sheriff's Department gave me that resource to go for donations as well as to sign up as a community volunteer. They will let you know if they want you to come to Kerrville. Don't just get in the car and go. If you're in the area, please go sign up at the link, and they will send out an email asking for volunteers at the times that they need it. So thank you so much, Ada K, for coming in and giving us
No, thank you for doing it.
Again, Ada K lives in Kerrville and just a short way away from Camp Mystic. And thank you to Joe Schmo for providing us with the maps and with the analysis there. And again, I'll be doing more updates later. So thank you everyone for being here. Please share this episode. It will help the algorithm to pick it up. Also, it will help the algorithm if you like it. And that way more people looking for the right information about how to donate will get it here on YouTube. You guys stay in the studio here. I end the stream and we'll exchange info so everybody can stay in touch. Ada K does have a channel. It's at Ada K Media here on YouTube. And Joe Schmo's channel is at Joe Schmo 88. Please go sub to their channels and support them as well. Thank you again so much for being here, everybody. And thank you for caring about Kerrville, Texas. We'll talk again soon.